things in common. Of the fundamentals of all Abrahamic religions is belief in the God of Abraham, and belief in the concept of prophets, and belief in Judgment Day. These three are shared by all Abrahamic faith traditions. The dharmic religions don't believe in any of these things, and the concept of Judgment Day does not exist amongst all of them. What is the equivalent in all dharmic religions? Who could tell me? Very good. Reincarnation. Right? Or the concept of liberation of the soul from the body. So the goal of those faiths, we're not going to talk about that, don't worry, this is one of our first tangents of today. The goal of those religions is to break free from the cycle of reincarnation, nirvana or moksha or something. But the point is, by the way, they don't believe in a day of judgment. But do those faiths believe in some type of judgment? Yes. Because that's the whole point of karma. That's the whole point of reincarnation. Even those faith traditions have some kernel of judgment, but it's not one judgment day. It is every soul shall have its own judgment, and then the resurrection of the next will be based upon what it has done. So the point being, at some level, judgment is universal to all faith traditions of this world, except that the Abrahamic faiths believe in one day. That is the day of Hisab, the day of resurrection, the day of Qiyamah, Yawm ad-Din. And the other faith traditions, they have their other interpretations. And by the way, I say the Abrahamic faith traditions and all major sects of Christianity and all mainstream groups of Islam, as I mentioned in the very last episode of the Barzakh, all of them believe in an akhirah. Interestingly enough, for reasons beyond the scope of our class, the Jewish faith tradition has veered from this belief. Once upon a time, classical Judaism, early Judaism did believe in Qiyamah. And Allah references this in the Quran. وَقَالُوا لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارُ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. They did believe in heaven and hell. However, over the course of the evolution of Jewish theology, slowly but surely this concept was not fully discarded, but it is no longer central to the belief of most modern Jews. Some still believe in it, and many have adopted it. Many have abandoned it, and most of them are agnostic about it. They don't know what even the religious, even the practicing amongst them. This has something that is now, by and large, not mainstream amongst them, which is very interesting. They have abandoned this belief. Nonetheless, that's the introduction. Now let's get to the Islamic stuff. When we look at the Quran, belief in Qiyamah is one of the most fundamental principles of the entire religion. Some of our scholars have said, and there is an element of truth to this, you cannot read a single page of the Quran except that Allah explicitly references Qiyamah on it. And I didn't go over every page, but there's definitely an element of truth here. You cannot read a single page of the Quran except that there is an indirect or a direct reference to the Qiyamah. And in fact, one of the interesting things about the concept of Qiyamah is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala argues in the Quran with those who deny Qiyamah. Allah Azza wa Jal reasons with them. He uses rational arguments. He's essentially trying to prove Qiyamah in many different ways. And so we began our talk about Qiyamah by looking at some of the primary techniques that Allah uses in the Quran to prove the Qiyamah. Some of the rational arguments, and it's interesting that Allah is using rational arguments here. Some people believe rationality has no role in the religion, and this is not true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using logical arguments. He's telling people who reject the Qiyamah to think that there is a Qiyamah, and He reasons with them in a logical manner, in a manner that He's trying to prove. And this is because the Quraysh, generally speaking, rejected a Qiyamah. The Quraysh didn't believe in a Qiyamah. They believed in Allah, but they didn't believe in prophets, and they didn't believe in Qiyamah. So they rejected two of the main three pillars of Islam. So the Quran proves prophets in many ways, but more than the prophets, because the Qiyamah is discussed more than triple the amount the prophets are discussed. More than the prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Qiyamah and attempts to prove its existence to